So after all the drama, debate, and discourse, Sonic Racing Crossworlds is finally here. And the question is, was I wrong about this game? I had the pleasure of playing this game and beating it all the way up until the point where we unlock Supersonic. So I've been able to play the Supersonic speed, I've been able to play all the tracks as well as the mirror mode. In addition to that, I have tons of experience playing online due to the first 2 beta tests. I actually wasn't going to purchase this game because I do think the price was extremely high, especially $90 to play early, plus get all the DLC, but a nice sale popped up on my feed and I said, hey, why not? Let's get it. In particular, because the footage and content that was coming out about this game was looking really good. Like, we got the open network tests, we played it, and it kind of changed my mind. There was a lot of reasons why I wanted to try this game again because it was doing everything right for the most part. So, with that being said, let's get into our opinion. Let's not waste any time. Like many Sonic games as of late, there's a lot of discourse that goes around. So there was a lot of like doom and gloom kind of surrounding this game. Sonic fans saw that a new Mario Kart game was coming out, so people were like, oh no, we're instantly cooked. I was one of those people that's like, you know, listen, we don't have the best track record of beating Mario, so it's probably going to be a tough hill to climb. But for the first time ever, I'll admit, I think I'm wrong in the sense that this Sonic game is more than likely going to beat the public perception of Mario Kart World. This is a monumental win for Sega. As it currently stands, Sonic Racing Crossworlds is the most successful Sonic game of this era, so each game has progressively gotten better. From Frontiers all the way to Crossworlds, the score has improved with each and every single release. Mario Kart World may have a higher score of 86, but the difference is pretty much negligible. 83 to 86, it might as well be the same exact number. Where Sonic Racing Crossworlds seems to take advantage of Nintendo's weakness is the user score. It has a 7 out of 10, so it's mixed or average. And if you log on Twitter, you might think that it's a 5 out of 10, or maybe even worse. Listen, Nintendo can have the game journalists, but if there's one thing Sonic would rather have, I think it's the hearts and minds of the people. So I'm here to say right now what I think we're all thinking. I think that Sonic Racing Crossworlds is going to be the game that beats a Mario game, its direct competitor. Like literally, these are 2 of the same exact genre. This is going to be the first Sonic game that beats Mario in terms of public perception in I don't even know how long. This is an absolutely amazing development for Sega and Sonic Team. Like, this is a victory in all senses of the word. I think this is probably going to be the most successful Sonic game of all time in terms of its multi-platform sales in like the post-Genesis era. But why is this? Well, we have to take a look at what the game offers and kind of the experience that it delivers to players. What I like to call this phenomenon is the 1,000 jab theory. I want to paint a scenario in your head. Let's say boxer number 1 is Mario Kart World. This boxer has an absolute knockout punch. He's flashy, usually knocks his opponents out in the first round. But watch out, if he goes a couple of rounds, he's going to get tired and probably run out of gas. Let's say boxer number 2 is Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Now, this boxer is a much more technical fighter. He's able to dodge the opponent's punches, he's able to conserve his energy, he's able to tag his opponents and basically win by decision at the end of the match. Simply put, this is a boxer that sticks to his fundamentals. He doesn't try to get fancy, he just tries to win by jabs. Because at the end of the day, you don't need to knock your opponent out to win. If you look at Mario Kart World as fighter number 1, Mario Kart World has a lot of flash. The reveal trailer made it seem like this game was going to be one of the best entries in the series. You have this amazing parkour gimmick, you have this giant open world, you have like the most polished animations, like everything about this game just looks absolutely massive and it's this grand splash. But everybody knows the biggest issue with Mario Kart World, and the reason why everybody hates it, especially with respect to the online mode, is the forcing of intermission tracks upon the players, which basically you drive in a straight line for the entire track and you don't actually do a traditional lap around the course until the very end. So basically you just bag the entire time. Nothing really matters until you get to that final lap. You just want to smuggle good items into the end. There's other things as well, like the item balance being extremely chaotic, especially with 24 racers, which means nothing really matters until the final lap. But in addition to that, they removed 200cc. In terms of this game, the biggest thing that kind of holds it back in terms of its public perception are the design choices that they made. But in terms of pure raw gameplay, this is definitely the best, at least in my opinion, the Mario Kart series has to offer. The parkour mechanics are so fun to use. I love being able to do the wall riding, the rail grinding. Honestly, if Sonic Racing Crossworlds had these mechanics, it would be literally the best kart racer probably ever. I mean, that is one of the reasons why the Sonic Riders series is so beloved. It has the skill-based trick system, it's got rail grinding, it's got like some jumping mechanics. But the problem with the pure raw gameplay being amazing is the fact that the design choices of the game do in fact hold it back. That's why people are kind of upset with it. No matter what you do, if you separate your audiences, you're going to have one side of the fence that likes one thing and one side of the fence that likes something else. Think about Sonic Unleashed. There's no better example of dividing your audience. You may have people that hate the Hedgehog gameplay style, and for example, the same hypothetical player who hates the Hedgehog stages might absolutely adore the boosting stages. So in a sense, you've divided your audience audience into different buckets. It's never really a recipe for a universally successful game. Some people might love both, and there's more power to them, but that's not going to be everybody. So, in my opinion, the best recipe for success for a game is to have one consistent playstyle throughout, so there's no chance to have this like deviation of thought. You either like the game or you hate it because it's one consistent thing throughout. That's what Sonic Racing Crossworlds does. It's consistent. It's 1,000 jabs. It's throwing jabs left and right with its fun, addictive, snappy, arcade-style gameplay with traditional 3-lap tracks that people are accustomed to with the kart racing genre. Mario Kart World, it's a flashy fighter. It throws a knockout punches with its awesome gameplay, but the problem is the design choices are like its energy bar, and the design choices that they put in the game, like the open world that not everybody loves, the intermission tracks that not everybody loves, the 200cc being missing that not everybody loves, item balance being a little bit out of control, and that's where you get this divide in the public perception, and that's where Sonic Racing Crossworlds can capitalize that attention market. Mario Kart World threw all of its knockout punches in the first round, but Sonic Racing Crossworlds stood tall after 12 rounds, throwing jabs, being technical, and they're the winner at the end of the fight in terms of public perception. Now, I will say that the story on both of these games definitely isn't completely written because we do have a confirmed roadmap of DLC for Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and it seems like, yeah, we'll get a couple tracks, but will it be enough? Mario Kart World has no confirmed DLC, but we saw what DLC did to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It basically doubled the amount of tracks, but for now, we got to go based off what we currently know, and Sonic Racing Crossworlds already has that confirmed roadmap. So, with respect to longevity, currently, as it stands, Sonic Racing Crossworlds is winning that discussion. So, was I wrong about Sonic Racing Crossworlds? Well, the answer is definitely yes. I did think that this game had no chance to compete with Mario Kart World, and honestly, I'm pretty happy to be wrong. I'm a Sonic fan at the end of the day. I always like rooting for the scrappy underdog. Like, I was always rooting for Sonic Team to do well. You know, given the track record and the history, I just didn't think it was possible. For the most part, I think they did basically everything right, and I think more importantly, they didn't mess it up. That's all they really needed to do. Now, let's get into like the actual game. Let's review it, right? Sonic Racing Crossworlds is kind of like the spiritual successor to Sega Racing Transform. The primary gimmick of the game is obviously the Crossworlds feature. Essentially what this is mid-track, the player in first can choose a track change. So if you go left, you get one track, you go right, you get the other one, and it transports you into a completely different zone. What I find pretty brilliant about this feature is the fact that it makes no two races in this game really feel the same, especially given the fact that they give you all these different customization options, which we'll get into later. It could definitely serve as a wrench thrown in everyone just picking the same meta because all of the tracks are basically the same. And for example, you'll have a track where it's a little bit slippier, like the Blizzard track, and maybe things are a little bit more close quarters. You may want to consider putting a gadget on that gives you a boost when you touch other players. Or you're optimized for speed and speed items, but the crossworld that you end up on is a pretty windy track, so maybe you should have had some handling. So in a genre where things can definitely feel repetitive, it's definitely refreshing to have this mechanic to keep the replayability high. And speaking of keeping the replayability high, the gadget system is certainly a brilliant thing that this game does, and I'll give this game all the credit for that. The amount of customization that's available in the game is actually astounding, and it kind of turns this game into like an RPG racer. Think about it like this. You have the air trick expert, which will allow you to perform air tricks faster, so it's going to give you that thrilling sense of speed every time you hit a jump, and it's really going to keep you on your toes. There are so many different ways to customize your car, and the biggest way to unlock them is by simply playing the game and unlocking all of these abilities. So that's what I mean when it's like an RPG kart racer. There's so much customization, and this is definitely going to keep people experimenting for a long time. We have a legitimate character progression system. You have things like inventory swaps with other players. You have things that give you more boosting items. You have things that help you drift faster. No two players and no two playthroughs will be the same, for now at least, until people discover a meta, but with the addition of the Crossworlds, maybe there isn't a true meta. Let the people play how they want. And speaking of builds and customization, this game has the best Sonic Racing roster ever. I mean, of course it could be better, but we certainly have more DLC to expect in the future with a lot of crossover characters, but hopefully they can definitely focus at least some of the DLC on the Sonic characters. I think that's going to be a big thing going forward for me, at least. Adding more content to this game is going to be absolutely crucial to this game's lifespan. People will get sick of this if they don't add more. And hopefully some of that involves Sonic characters instead of just like the crossovers. But not only can you customize your build with the gadgets, you also have all these different types of handling, acceleration, speed, boost type characters, with also tons of customization for the vehicles themselves. You earn the customization by playing the races, so the replayability factor is definitely there. There's going to be so much to experiment with, and I can only wait to see what people come up with for the builds. And I would argue that replaying the game to test out the builds, as well as unlock all of the customization for the carts in terms of the parts, the colors, the decals, and everything like that. In addition to the gadget mechanics, I think this is almost just as important as the Crossworlds feature, if not more. From a gameplay perspective, the game is extremely fun. There's not really much else to say about it. I mean, it is a kart racer, like this is kind of this tried and true formula, but it doesn't matter. You play this game, you're gonna have a blast. The game is extremely fast-paced. It feels like you're like almost overstimulated when playing, especially when you turn on the dynamic camera mode. In addition to that, if you're going in the supersonic speed mode on the extreme gear, it kind of almost feels like you're playing Sonic Riders. Not quite, but it does kind of give you that same feel in terms of like the visual experience. The controls, for the most part, I mean, they're pretty good. I would say that the drifting can definitely be a little bit of a learning curve for some players. I did find myself running into walls a lot, and that's partly due to the fact that some turns, especially in the fastest speed mode, you're gonna just simply have to take your hand off the gas if you want to turn correctly, because if not, it's very hard to turn. You could argue that it's good to kind of have this skill gap for players, but I think newer players are going to definitely have a tough time with this. And overall, I do think that the drifting can definitely just feel a little bit better. Not terrible though. You just got to get used to it. Same can definitely be said for the water mechanics. I do find it kind of hard to turn, and there's definitely just like that little skill gap that some players are going to have. They're going to have to practice and learn how to use it. There's times where I'm in the water and it just feels like I'm struggling not to hit the wall. A lot of this kind of stems from being able to just take your foot off the gas, but even then, there's still times where the turning can feel like it needs some work. But I think as time goes on and competitive players get better and better, we're going to see some really cool and impressive stuff with the game. Like I said before, the overstimulation is definitely something that I crave when I play a Sonic game. This is definitely one of the fastest kart racers you could ever play. And the speed of the game is not only by design with the dynamic camera or the supersonic speed, it's due to the track design. Due to the fact that there's 12 players in the game and the walls on the track are very narrow, you're going to do a lot of bumping into other players. You're also going to get hit by items frequently. Not in a way that's egregious though. Like in Mario Kart World, if you get hit by an item, it's going to derail your race in a detrimental way. Whereas in Sonic Racing Crossworld, you get hit, it's more of like a hiccup. It doesn't slow you down to the point where your race is ruined. You're going to rage quit, and it just feels like there's no point in even trying to attempt to come back. Of course, it is a kart racer that does exist in this game. Let's make no mistake about it. But the balance feels just a little bit better. And even falling off a cliff, for example, you don't lose all of your items and you get back up pretty quick. So that's one thing that I like about it. It's got this arcade feel. It's not overly punishing, but also at the same time, there's definitely a lot going on. This is the type of stuff that makes it feel fun, chaotic, and ultimately, due to the fast-paced nature of the game and how quick some of the matches can be, in particular online, it keeps you coming back for more, which is the craziest thing that I've experienced, and a lot of people who have played it have said as well. I mainly played the single-player experience ever since I purchased the game, and it was the longest stream in the history of my channel of 4 years. I streamed the game for about 9 hours, and it certainly did not feel like a 9-hour stream. Trust me, I've done it before, and it's absolutely grueling. The craziest part of all this is that, I mean, I normally play kart racers to play the online experience, but the fact that I spent this much time in the single player is definitely a great sign. As a matter of fact, I think the single player is definitely a very good experience in this game, as opposed to, like, you know, previous entries in the Mario Kart series where the single player can be a little bit punishing. If you mess up in Sonic Racing Crossworlds, you have the opportunity to restart a race. I mean, how many times do you get to the end of a Grand Prix, you mess up with some stupid item at the end of the race, and then you have to replay all 4 races over again? It's like this forced repetitiveness and tedious nature that can be very frustrating, but this game gives you the opportunity to do a do-over, which in my opinion saved me a lot of time, so I was definitely grateful for that. In addition to that, this game has the rival racer mechanic, which I think any Sonic nerd such as myself can really appreciate. There's hundreds of lines of dialogue. Like, the idea that the video for all of the dialogue in Sonic Racing Crossworlds is longer than the length of Sonic Forces just goes to show how much went into the writing for the game in fleshing out these character dialogues. I love seeing certain characters interact with each other because I love Sonic lore and I love the characters. But the rival racers aren't just character dialogues. The rival racers have this option where you can turn up the difficulty. If you put it on rank 9, you will be punished. You will lose, and it will be one of the most difficult experiences of your life trying to get a win, which is awesome. It's not required to do this. It's really just like an extra challenge that the player can impose upon themselves. In the single player modes for Mario Kart games, it's like stupidly easy. There's no point in even playing single player. It's like so boring. This game's single player mode can definitely provide you with some adrenaline. The rival racer always seems to be in first or second place, right behind you, butting heads with you, exchanging items for items, and it always seems like it's going to come down to the wire on the final stretch of any race. And it's going to keep every race fun and intense, plus you have cool trash talk and banter to go back and forth with them. So in terms of gameplay, it's awesome. In terms of narrative, it's even better because it kind of shows that this game is a love letter to the Sonic franchise. One of the best examples of this is the jukebox feature, which which allows you to select different Sonic songs. And for example, let's say it's lap 3 and you want to listen to I'm Here or something like that. To really get that chill-inducing Sonic feel to any track, it's definitely one of the coolest parts of the game. And it also respects the history of the franchise. If you think about all of the tracks that you see in the game, you got little tidbits and pieces of Sonic history, tons of Easter eggs to explore. And I think there's no better example of how this game is kind of a love letter to the franchise is seeing Radical Highway in its modern form. It's kind of like a dream come true for me as a kid. There's one statement I think that can accurately give you a testament to how fun the game is the fact that I'm always craving to play just one more match. The addicting nature and the fact that so much time can pass while you're playing it in seemingly a blink of an eye is one perfect way I think to describe the enjoyment I had while playing the game. The game also has a race park mode as well. It's almost like even more of an arcadey mode because there's certain rules that you can do, like for example, your team has to get X amount of rings or hit other players or whatever the case may be. It's like another mode with different rules. So it keeps things kind of fresh. I mean, this isn't really something I spent a lot of time with, obviously. You also have the time trial mode, and one of the coolest things is now you can download other players' ghosts and you can even watch them race. So I think time trials and world records are going to get pretty crazy in this game as time goes on. But I think this is definitely one of the coolest features that they added too. But I think where this game truly will shine is going to be the online mode. I think this game was designed with online competitive matchmaking in mind, like the idea that you race around players on all platforms, by the way. I think one of the biggest value propositions is the fact that the game is cross-platform. You don't have to buy a Nintendo Switch 2 in order to play this game. As a matter of fact, you can play it on Nintendo Switch 2 if you wish. But I think this game is at its most addicting, at its most replayable when you are chasing down ranks online. Due to the chaotic and arcadey nature of the game, you're definitely going to have a blast because these games will absolutely fly by and you're sitting there waiting for another match. You're able to play with your friends. You can kind of see everyone else's build. You can also emote in the lobby. So I feel like this game, if they keep building and expanding upon the online, will definitely be the lifeline that keeps this thing going for a very long time, as opposed to Team Sonic Racing, which was almost dead on arrival. So Sonic Racing Crossworlds, definitely an extremely fun game. You know, they didn't do anything wrong, and that's the biggest thing. They just kind of kept true to their roots and made a fun, traditional kart racer game. Coupled with what seems like will be a competent online matchmaking system, a proven roadmap of DLC, we could see this game have an extended life cycle, and hopefully the DLC can live up to the hype, because I think in its current state, it's definitely going to need more content. Because let's face it, there's been a lot of praise for this game, but I will say that $90 for all the DLC and everything is certainly too much, as well as $70 for the game. If the DLC doesn't live up to the hype and doesn't feel substantial enough, I could see the honeymoon phase with this game ending and fizzling out a little bit. If you don't care about how you spend your money, then I say go for it. But if you're hesitant and you feel like you'll regret spending 70 or 90 bucks on the game, I would say definitely hold off and wait for this game to go on sale. It's a fun game, but I wouldn't say this is something that like revolutionizes and pushes the kart racing genre forward. I also think once again, the gameplay could definitely be a little bit more smoother. It's got kind of like that traditional Sonic jank with the animations not being as smooth. The turning could certainly be better. The physics are certainly not as good, especially when you leave the air. Track design, while it's pretty good, like it's got a lot of windiness and just like some cool stuff going on, I do kind of feel like the game kind of takes some of the creativity away from the players. Like for example, in Mario Kart World, you could do crazy shortcuts that players discover on their own. Whereas in this game, the shortcuts are all kind of intentional. It's like, okay, use the wisp here on the dirt path to go a little bit faster. Players aren't necessarily finding the shortcuts. Sega's kind of just creating them for you. Due to how engaging the gameplay is and how like glued to the screen you have to be because it's moving so fast, it's not really a huge deal. It's kind of like a minor criticism or a nitpick. But even with all of that criticism, if you have the game, you'll definitely have fun. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably sitting at an 8 out of 10. I think the Metacritic score is pretty accurate for Sonic Racing Crossworlds. And I think that if you're the type of person that has been concerned with what Mario Kart is doing and it's not your cup of tea, this game, there is no problem with liking this one over Mario Kart World. There's definitely an inherent value that this game provides over Mario Kart, and also probably hits its target audience better. I think the public perception of this game is going to widely be perceived in a more positive light.